Hello, I'm David Speers. Welcome to our look at some of the events that have shaped Australia's politics. The historic moments, the tragic times, the scandals and showdowns that have made reporting from Canberra an exciting but also at times a daunting experience. We begin with the election of the Labor government in 1972, which heralded a new era for Australian politics and ended 23 years of Conservative rule. Gough Whitlam's incoming government launched itself into an orgy of change, spending and new policies that would ultimately lead to Australia's greatest constitutional crisis.
Finally, we got a leader who could take us from the wilderness, and from the wilderness we came.
The national leader of the Australian Labor Party, Mr. Gough Whitlam.
Men and women of Australia.
1972 also ushered in a new era of politicking. A campaign launched along American presidential election lines with a catchy theme song in a presentation by some of the nation's biggest names in theatre, film and TV in a coordinated and choreographed extravaganza. Under the guidance of advertising guru John Singleton, the campaign became a vote for Whitlam rather than a vote for Labor. It created a sense of action and excitement that coursed through the community.
There are moments in history when the whole fate and future of nations can be decided by a single decision. For Australia, this is such a time.
Everybody saw a Whitlam victory coming. When you saw the It's Time ad with everybody who was anybody in Australia, I think it was just a sign that it was time and we all knew it was coming.
Tall, articulate and charismatic, Whitlam's image towered over that of diminutive Prime Minister Billy McMahon.
He was a disaster for them.
McMahon struggled throughout, reliant on a portable auto cue to deliver his staff-prepared speeches, his delivery increasingly becoming hesitant and disjointed, while voters crowded out Whitlam's venues to hang on his every word.
Large as life, handsome, brilliantly erudite, probably the most intelligent Prime Minister we'd had up to that point, and I think undoubtedly a great orator.
McMahon faced constant, orchestrated heckling from Labor supporters. His team forced to resort to using large placards to shield the sight of the demonstrators from the television cameras. Whitlam launched his campaign in the heart of Struggle Street, Blacktown, in Sydney's west, in front of an adoring audience.
Myself and Kerry Cyber, who finished up President of the Senate, we laid out the chairs at Blacktown Town Hall. They didn't lay out themselves, we did. We were described by Mungo McCallum, and I never forgave him for this, as two unenthusiastic party workers. Well, you laid out the last of the 500 chairs, you're just too buggered.
McMahon launched his campaign safe from public scrutiny in the sanctuary of a television studio. In his bid for political power, McMahon enjoyed the support of Sir Frank Packer, media mogul and publisher of newspapers, magazines and the owner of the Nine television network, who reportedly told the aspiring politician, "Get yourself a wife and a couple of kids and I'll make you Prime Minister." He did just that, and Sonia McMahon accompanied the Prime Minister on all official engagements, criticised by some for employing a nanny to look after her children in Sydney, while she lived at the Lodge in Canberra. Lady Sonia also made world headlines when she chose a split-to-the-hip white dress for US President Richard Nixon's official reception for the couple at the White House, described by the Washington Post as one of the most talked-about items of clothing ever to be worn to the White House. In a later interview, Australia's First Lady told a reporter that dress put Australia on the map. Everyone wanted to get a squiz at it. Behind the political curtain, the smiles and camaraderie of the Liberal team shrouded the infighting and backstabbing that racked the party. McMahon relentlessly undermined John Gorton to become leader, tactics Whitlam described as Tiberius with a telephone. In his political memoir, The Chance of Politics, Cabinet Minister and later Governor-General Sir Paul Hasluck would describe McMahon as devious, disloyal, dishonest, untrustworthy, petty and cowardly.
From everyone I've spoken to who was in the Liberal Party at that time, it sounds like a reasonable summary, yeah.
December 1972, Whitlam wins, not by the expected landslide, but by a comfortable 9 seats, but facing a hostile Senate. The win launched a revitalised parliamentary Labor Party.
What you had was a whole lot of old guys who'd spent 2 decades in opposition. And I don't think they were fit for government, a lot of them. You know, they didn't get it. They'd waited so long, suddenly they're in the toy shop and they wanted every toy.
Whitlam immediately fulfilled his election promise to bring the diggers home from Vietnam, introduced the first iteration of Medicare, abolished university fees, supported the arts, and took the controversial decision to buy Jackson Pollock's blue poles at the outrageous price of $1.3 million. It's now valued at more than $100 million. In May 1974, after having 6 of his reform bills rejected by the hostile Senate, Whitlam went to the Governor-General to call a double dissolution election. He again failed to gain the advantage he wanted in the Senate and the House.
A Senate that was never going to pass anything for you, so I think you had to have a go. We just failed.
In another ploy, Whitlam again used the Governor-General's powers to call for a joint sitting of the Parliament. That gave Whitlam the numbers needed to pass his electoral and healthcare reforms. But trouble loomed for Labor in the shape of a dodgy loan deal orchestrated by Whitlam, his Treasurer Jim Cairns, and Minerals and Energy Minister Rex Connor to seek out Arab petrodollars by passing Treasury and the Loans Council. That brought the government into one-on-one contact with the shadowy negotiator, Tirath Kemlani. Details of the dealings leaked. The Kemlani affair dominated the headlines. Cairns and Connor misled the Parliament, lost their portfolios, and gave Fraser's opposition the reprehensible circumstances it needed to block supply, bringing about the constitutional crisis that would divide the nation, the dismissal of the Whitlam government.
I think there were a number of things that were the beginning of the end. But certainly Kemlani was a huge one because it was so damn stupid.
Well, may we say, God save the Queen. Because nothing will save the Governor-General.
In our next episode, affairs of the heart and what happens when a former PM loses his trousers.